In this problem, we are asked to find the area of a triangle with base 1 2/3 inches and height 10 inches. Write your answer as a proper fraction or a mixed number in reduced form. Now this problem is tending to give a lot of people difficulties. So I think it's the fractions that's bothering most people. How would we go about starting this problem? The first thing that I like to do is I like to draw a picture. That gives me a visual representation and helps me in remembering my formulas. So I'm going to start with a triangle, and it has base 1 2/3 inches. So let me label that base 1 2/3 inches. And it has a height of 10 inches. Now I don't know what kind of triangle it is, okay? But I do know that the base is 1 2/3 inches and the height is 10 inches. And so this distance or this measurement here from base to bottom is 10 inches. Now, what's the formula for the area of a triangle? Well, if we recall, the area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 times the base times the height. And for our particular problem, we have both the base and the height given to us, so it's just a quick substitution. That means area, which I'm going to designate with the letter A, equals 1/2 times 1 2/3 inches, the base, times 10 inches, the height. And notice I'm using that little dot to denote multiplication. Well, in order to find the area, I can either convert everything into decimals and get an approximation, or I can look at the problem and notice that it says I want to have an answer written in fraction form. That is, either as a proper fraction or a mixed number. And if that's the case, then I don't want to use my calculator. I want to actually do this out by hand. So the first step is I need to convert each of these elements or each of these factors and rewrite them as a fraction. 1/2 is already a fraction. 1 2/3 is what we call a mixed number. And to write it as a fraction, what do we have to do? Do you remember how to convert mixed numbers into fractions? Let's see, I'll do it off to the side here. If I want to take 1 2/3 and I want to rewrite it as a fraction, what I do is I take the denominator 3 and I multiply it times the whole number. And then I take that result and add it to the numerator. Do you remember this? How we convert mixed numbers into improper fractions? So we take the base or the denominator 3 multiplied by 1, which is 3, plus 2, which is going to give us 5. And that becomes my new numerator. The base or the denominator stays the same. And so 1 2/3 is really the fraction 5/3. So I'm going to convert 1 2/3 to be the fraction 5/3. Now what do I do about that number 10? 10 is an integer, and so I'm going to rewrite 10 as 10 over 1. I have now converted each number into a fraction. Our last step is to recall that when you multiply fractions, we multiply numerators, and then we multiply denominators. So let's multiply across. 1 times 5 is 5, times 10 is 50, so I have 50 in my numerator, and 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 1 is 6, so I have 6 in my denominator. What I have now is an improper fraction, where my numerator is bigger than my denominator. Moreover, I notice that I can actually go ahead and reduce this fraction, and so I like to reduce things. Do you remember how to reduce fractions? To reduce a fraction, we want to look for a number that's common to the numerator and the denominator. Specifically, we want to look for a factor that's common to the numerator and denominator. Do you notice that both 50 and 6 are divisible by 2? In fact, let me write that out for us. 50 can be thought of as 2 times 25, and 6 can be thought of as 2 times 3. And so if I want to reduce the fraction 50 over 6, I can delete, remove, or if you like, cancel out 2 divided by 2, because 2 divided by 2 is just 1. And therefore, I can reduce 50 over 6 to the fraction 25 over 3. Whew, we're almost done. But again, 25 over 3 is what we call an improper fraction. And it's improper because the numerator is larger than the denominator. The number on top is bigger than the one on the bottom, and that's what makes it improper. So what do we do with improper fractions? Well, if it asks, we'll need to convert it into a mixed number. And how do we do that? We divide. So again, let me do a little scratch work here off to the side. All right, so I'm going to call this my scratch work area, and I'm going to divide 3 into 25. So 3 goes into 25 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. And when I subtract, that gives me 1. I can now take these numbers and rewrite my improper fraction as a mixed number. Do you remember how to do that? So the 8 on top, that becomes my whole number part. And the 1, that becomes the numerator of my fraction. So here we go. 25 over 3 is equivalent to the mixed number 8, the quotient, and 1/3, 1 being the remainder, over that fraction denominator 3. So 25 thirds is just 8 1/3. And that's it. That's our answer. The area of a triangle with a base of 1 2/3 inches and a height of 10 inches is simply 8 1/3 square inches. And we're done. Good luck, guys, with your problems. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to email.